back. We will do a revision on lesson 3.4 arithmetic sequences. It's just a very quick revision. Basically, we have two main ideas: how to write it given an arithmetic sequence, and how to write the arithmetic sequence given a word problem. Okay, so I won't be explaining in depth when it's arithmetic, when it's not, what's the meaning of every term or symbol here. I will only explain using the simplified explicit formula. There is another formula in the PowerPoint, and all deeper ideas were already explained in lesson. So let's start. So suppose you have this question. They want you to write an explicit formula for this sequence. The sequence starts with -4, that's A1 directly. Of course, whenever they gave me a sequence, always the first term is A1. It's not A0, it's A1. This is A2, A3, A4, and A5. Okay, so to write an explicit form, you need to have, as we said, the explicit form looks like this. A number n, we don't know what is n, it's just an unknown value, equals d, which is the distance, times the number of terms, that's a multiplication here, plus a number 0. Okay, so as you can see here, we need to find d and a0. That's it. N and an, you can keep them as variable because they can be anything. We only want to find d and a0. Okay, d, the distance, is how much you need to go from the first term to the second term, and it should be the same distance all the time. So from -4 to 5, how can I find the distance? You basically take the second term, a2, minus from it a1. So 5 minus -4. Okay, which is going to be plus, and that's a 9. So the distance here is 9. I need to add 9 to the -4 to reach 5, and you can check with the calculator, you're going to get it correct. Now the distance is supposed to be the same all the way. So if I do a3 minus a2, which is 14 minus 5, if you check, it's going to be also 9. If I do a4 minus a3, it's going to be 9. 9 all the way, it will be positive 9, and that's it. Okay, type. So to go from a term to the next term, I have to add 9. Okay, that's the distance. So instead of d, I will replace it by 9 positive, and the n, we said we can keep it as a variable, a small n plus a0. How can I find it? Now since my sequence started with a1, how can I find a0, which is the term behind it? You have to go backward. So instead of adding 9, you have to minus 9. Going backward, you have to do the opposite operation. Not always minus, depends. If you subtract here, you have to do addition. If you add here, in this case add, you have to do subtraction. Okay, so -4 minus 9 is going to be -13. So the previous term was -13. Okay, that's it. So now combine these two signs, positive and negative, will end up being negative. That's it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay, now let's do the same idea here for this sequence. Now they gave you this sequence. They told you have to write an explicit form. As we said, explicit form looks like this. an equals distance times the number of terms plus a0. Okay, so always if they gave you a sequence, the first term is a1, a2, a3, a4. They never start with a0. It's always starting from a1. Okay, now how to find the distance? You have to go, first of all, let's try to find this distance. You have to take the first two terms and subtract them. Always a2 minus the a1. Okay, so the second term minus the first term. So in this case, 0 minus 7 is going to be 7 but negative. And that's correct, because to go from 7 to 0, you have to subtract 7. To go from 0 to -7, you have to also subtract 7. And you need to do the same for all the terms. And it should be the same. If it was different at any term, it's not arithmetic sequence anymore. But it will be correct, especially if they said that it is correct. Okay, anyways, So the distance is -7, n of course, plus, write an. We want to find a0. a0 is basically the term that is behind a1. How can I find it? Every time I'm subtracting 7, to go backward you have to do the opposite, which is adding 7. 7 which is a1 plus the 7, add a 7 to move backward. So in this case it's going to be 14. And you can double check. See, from a0, which is 14, to go to a1 you have to minus 7, and that's correct. Okay, so a0 is going to be 14, and this is the explicit formula. This is it. Now let's go to the next idea. Writing explicit form of given a word problem. Let's see here. After the first raffle drawing, 497 tickets remain. So they told you that it's the first, so that's a1. So a1 is basically 497. Okay, after the second, that's a2. Raffle drawing 494, so a2 is 494. And then they said if the pattern continues, write an explicit formula. Now that's the thing, is I can use this sequence to find the distance and then find the a0. Again, what was the explicit formula? It looks like this: an equals d times n plus a0. Okay, so first let's try to find the d. D is basically how much do I need to go from here to here. Apparently it's subtraction because it's going back down, like it's decreasing. So you can check a2 minus a1, 494 minus 497, the answer is -3. If you check, it's -3. So they are subtracting 3. Now the d is -3. Just write everything as it is. Now the a0, to find a0 you have to go backward. So how can I go backward? Instead of subtracting 3 you have to add 3. 497 plus 3 is going to be 500, and that's a0. That's it. I found a of n. That's it. Now continue reading the problem. They said that the sequence represents the number of raffle tickets that remain after each drawing. Okay, they said how many tickets will remain in the bag after 7 raffle drawings. So basically they want a, instead of n, they wanted a7, because they want to know after 7 drawings how much will it be. In this case a7, instead of n, every n we substitute by 7. -3 times 7 plus 500. It's very easy. It's very similar to the idea of functions. So a7 will equal to -3 times 7 is -21 plus 500. And if you combine these two, it's going to be 479. And it makes sense because they are decreasing and they should be decreasing. That's the amount of tickets after 7 turns. Okay, now you have another style of problems. You join a gym that charges a $50, and they said it's a0. Perfect, we don't have to find a0 as a registration fee, and 30 per month. Now in sequences, per is a rate, and rates in sequences is the amount they are that is applying for every single time. In this case it's the distance. So if they gave you the rate, in this case it's the distance. Okay, they did not give me a1 and a2 like the previous example. They gave me directly the distance and directly a0. Write an explicit form. This type of problems is way easier. You just directly write a of n equals a distance is 30. It's positive because they gave it to me positive. Just leave it as it is. N, and the a0 is 50. Just leave it as it is positive. That's it. Very simple. You don't have to calculate anything. Now they said later on, how much will you have to pay after 9 months? So instead of n, replace it with 9. They want A9. So 30 times 9 plus 50. And it makes sense. Every month you're taking 30, you have to multiply it with 9 months. 30 times 9 is basically 270 plus 50. It's basically $320, and that's the amount you're gonna pay after 9 months. That's it. So you have two types of problems. They might give you A1 and A2, and then you have to find the distance, and then A0, substitute. Of course, they will ask you about A of number, A7 in this case. Or they will give you the A0 ready, the distance ready. Just write your explicit form and evaluate it in 9 months. Very easy, very simple. Good luck. Thank you.